An elegant woman in a striking black dress stands tall, her porcelain skin glowing against the dim background. This is Madame X, one of John Singer Sargent's most iconic works, a portrait that immortalized beauty, scandal, and tragedy. But behind the brushstrokes lies a story, one of ambition, societal downfall, and a woman whose life was forever changed by a single painting. This is the story of Virginie Amélie Avegno Gautreau, the woman behind Madame X, and how this masterpiece destroyed her life. Born into privilege in New Orleans, Virginie Amélie Avegno Gautreau moved to France as a young girl with her family. Her beauty was unmatched, her elegance celebrated in Parisian high society. Married to a wealthy banker, she became one of the most admired socialites of her time. She embodied the Belle Époque ideal of beauty, pale skin, dark hair, and an aristocratic air of unattainability. Her beauty was her greatest asset, but also her downfall. Known for her unique appearance and striking confidence, she soon became the talk of Paris. Virginie was a fashion icon, a muse, and the embodiment of grace, and yet her vanity and desire to be remembered for her beauty would lead her into a partnership that would ultimately destroy her reputation. John Singer Sargent was an ambitious young artist, making a name for himself with his incredible attention to detail and his ability to capture the essence of his subjects. Sargent had built a reputation in both Europe and America as one of the most talented portrait painters of his generation. But like Virginie, he craved recognition, fame on a grander scale. The commission to paint Madame Gautreau seemed like the perfect opportunity. Sargent admired Virginie's beauty and knew that painting her would bring him notoriety. He was already respected in the art community, but this was his chance to immortalize his skill in the grand tradition of portraiture. The painting would become his magnum opus. Sargent's vision was clear from the start. He wanted to create a portrait that would be unforgettable, a painting that captured Virginie's allure and mystery. After many sittings, sketches, and revisions, he finally completed the work. But it wasn't just any portrait. Sargent pushed boundaries, showing Virginie in a daring, low-cut black dress, with one strap sliding suggestively off her shoulder. It was meant to symbolize her confidence and daring nature. But the choice would prove fatal to both of their reputations. The strap was a bold statement of femininity, strength, and beauty. But for the conservative society of Paris, it was seen as scandalous and indecent. Virginie herself did not fully anticipate the backlash it would bring. In May 1884, Sargent unveiled Madame X at the Paris Salon, the most prestigious art exhibition in Europe. Virginie and Sargent expected admiration, even praise. Instead, they were met with gasps, laughter, and harsh criticism. The boldness of the pose and the fallen strap ignited outrage. The painting was deemed inappropriate, vulgar, and disrespectful. Madame X was seen as a blatant display of eroticism, an affront to the refined sensibilities of Parisian society. The backlash was swift and brutal. Virginie, once the queen of Parisian high society, became the subject of mockery and scorn. Virginie Gautreau's life began to unravel. The woman who had once basked in admiration found herself humiliated, her reputation in ruins. She had never intended for the portrait to cause such controversy, but the damage was done. For Virginie, the scandal was devastating. She withdrew from public life, avoiding social gatherings and staying out of the public eye. Once celebrated for her beauty, she now became the subject of ridicule and embarrassment. Even after Sargent repainted the strap to sit properly on her shoulder, the damage to her reputation could not be undone. Virginie Gautreau's downfall was swift and unforgiving. While her name faded from public memory, the painting would go on to live a life of its own. But the cost was her social standing, and she spent the rest of her life haunted by the consequences. John Singer Sargent, though initially affected by the scandal, ultimately emerged unscathed. After moving to London, he continued to create remarkable works and became one of the most sought-after portrait painters in the world. Madame X, once a source of controversy, is now considered one of his greatest masterpieces. Today, Madame X is celebrated for its boldness, its groundbreaking representation of feminine beauty, and its place in art history. But for Virginie Gautreau, the woman behind the painting, it marked the beginning of her downfall. Madame X stands as a testament to beauty, art, and the societal pressures of the time. It tells the story of a woman who sought to be remembered, but whose ambition led to her undoing. Virginie Gautreau may have been destroyed by the painting, but in a way, she achieved her goal. Over a century later, she is still remembered, but not as the celebrated beauty of Paris. Instead, she lives on as Madame X, the tragic muse of a masterpiece.